If you are just sick and tired of that constant login, logout dance, then you are definitely in the right place. We're about to dive into some really powerful SessionBox alternatives that are going to totally transform your productivity by letting you manage every single one of your accounts from just one browser.
So, does this sound familiar to you? You're hopping between, 5 different Slack workspaces, 3 different ad platforms, and a bunch of client accounts? The endless cycle of logging in and out isn't just a pain, it's a massive, massive time sink.
You know, that constant shuffle, it's more than just annoying. It's like this silent killer of your productivity. But what if you could actually get those lost hours back? Well, let's figure out exactly how to do that.
Okay, before we jump into the solutions, let's really put a name to the problem we're all fighting here. Because understanding this multi-login headache is absolutely the first step to finally curing it.
So at the very heart of this problem is something called context switching. See, every single time you log out and log back in, your brain has to completely refocus. Some people do this over 1,000 times a day. That just burns through precious hours, and you guessed it, really increases the chances of making a mistake.
And look, if you're thinking, oh, I'll just use an incognito window, think again. It's a temporary fix, a band-aid that just doesn't scale. When you're managing 5, 10, or even more identities at once, you need a real solution, not some little workaround.
So if incognito is out, what's in? Well, it's time to build out your productivity toolkit and find the session manager that's perfect for the job.
Before we get into the specific tools, let's agree on what we're looking for. What makes a session manager great? First, you need true session isolation, no more cookie clashes. Second, it has to be all about productivity, not a bunch of sneaky stealth features you don't need. Third, it's got to be stable and super simple to use. And finally, you need clear visual cues, like color coding, to keep you from making those costly mistakes.
All right, let's get right to it. Our top pick is a tool called Sendwin. And its whole philosophy is built around one simple, beautiful idea, just getting the job done as efficiently as possible, with absolutely zero fuss.
Sendwin just nails all of our key criteria. You can manage unlimited accounts right from your main browser. It's built purely for productivity, which means there's practically no learning curve. This thing is a total game changer for agencies, e-commerce sellers, and support teams, anyone who's constantly jumping between different client accounts.
But hey, what if you're looking for a free solution, something that feels like it's a native part of your browser? Well, that's where Firefox really steps up with its multi-account containers.
This is a brilliant, totally free solution from Mozilla itself. What it does is it gives you these color-coded tabs. This gives you instant visual clarity, so you always know if you're in your workspace or your personal space. You can even automate it so certain websites always open in the right container. It just takes all the guesswork out of your workflow. All right, and this brings us to the main event. How does our top pick, Sendwin, really stack up against the tool that started this whole conversation in the first place, SessionBox? Let's find out.
Okay, this really gets to the core of the difference between these two. Sendwin is all about productivity. Their mantra is simple: one browser, unlimited accounts. It's designed for clean, everyday business stuff. SessionBox, on the other hand, has kind of shifted to a stealth-first approach. They focus on features like anti-detect and browser fingerprint protection, which, well, they essentially try to mask your digital identity. Now, that's super powerful for very specific situations, but it adds a whole layer of complexity that, let's be honest, most of us just don't need for our daily grind.
So here's the bottom line. Unless you have a very specific reason to need those advanced stealth features, Sendwin offers a much simpler, more direct path to getting your productivity back.
Okay, so we've seen the top contenders. Now it's time to choose the champion for your specific workflow.
So, how do you pick the perfect fit? Let's break it down really quick. Here's your fast-track decision guide. If you want the absolute dead simple, easiest alternative for a single browser, Sendwin is your go-to. If free per-tab isolation is what you're after, Firefox Containers is the clear answer. Need a completely separate, dedicated browser with its own color-coded tabs for different sessions? You should check out Ghost Browser. And if you're wrangling these massive software stacks and you need to bring all your apps into one organized workspace, Wavebox was literally built for that.
Let's make this real. Just imagine a social media manager keeping a dozen brand accounts live in a single window using Sendwin. Or a QA tester using Ghost Browser to see an app from both an admin and a user perspective side by side. See? It's all about matching the right tool to the right task so you can finally stop making those costly little mistakes.
But beyond all the features and the cool workflows,
there's a much, much bigger payoff here. This is really about reclaiming your most valuable asset, your time.
Just by getting rid of a fraction of that daily context switching, the average professional can save somewhere between 50 and 100 hours every single year. Just let that sink in for a second. That's more than 2 full work weeks every year. Gone from the frustration of logging in and out and given right back to you.
So the final question isn't really about which tool you should pick. It's this: what are you going to do with an extra 2 weeks a year?